After living through 2020 and most of 2021, kind of feels like everybody deserves a break. Nike agrees, so they're giving their corporate employees a mental health week off, but not any of their non-corporate employees.
That also sends a message about, which kind of workers they care about and are willing to invest in.
And throughout the pandemic, we've heard that kids are relatively safe from getting severely sick with COVID. But that doesn't mean they aren't still catching it. In fact, cases are rising among very young children in Oregon. And do you want some fries with that coronavirus shot?
People are familiar with McDonald's. They're comfortable. It's not a scary healthcare setting.
Here's the story.
That burger didn't look too appetizing with the needle in it, but I see what they were trying to do there. Hi, hello. Whew, long week, huh? I'm Dan Haggerty. Welcome to the story. Tell me what's on your mind. A lot to think about Monday through Friday. Use that email at the bottom of your screen, thestory@kgw.com, or look us up on Twitter and use the hashtag HeyDan. But I should say, happy Friday. I mean, I usually don't like when people say that. It kind of ranks up there with the people who call Wednesday hump day. Oof. But I'm going to go with it because I am actually happy it's Friday. I mean, I need it. I need a little R&R. I'm ready for the weekend. Are you ready for the weekend? Sure you are. Of course you are. Life is stressful right now. I mean, just ask your brain every time it wakes you up at 3 a.m. to stare into the darkness and ponder every unanswered question in your life. We need a little break nowadays. Just ask the people from Nike. All the corporate people in Beaverton and at their offices around the world are wrapping up a mental health week off from work. A senior manager at Nike posted this online saying, taking time for rest and recovery is key to performing well and staying sane. This past year has been rough. We're all human and living through a traumatic event. And it's not just a week off for the team. It's an acknowledgement that we can prioritize mental health and still get work done. Nike's not the first company to think this way and help their employees out in this way. Company-wide vacations for mental health. LinkedIn, for instance, they gave their workers, like 16,000 people, a week off in April. That dating app, Bumble, gave 700 people the week off in June. And they plan to do that twice a year moving forward. So it's going to be part of what they do. Microsoft gave its workers extra well-being days. And Intel employees, they can take a 4-week sabbatical after they've worked there for 4 years. Now, it seems like these are all tech companies here in the tech industry, so we'd be interested. Maybe you know some other places. Let us know. Use the hashtag HeyDan. Are there other employers out there offering extra time off simply for mental health? Even Portland City Commissioner Joanne Hardesty is on a month-long vacation right now. I'm actually kind of interested in what you think about that too, but I feel like it's a story for another day. Regardless, more places are starting to realize that you don't want to work your people into the ground. In 2019, the World Health Organization formally recognized workplace burnout as a thing, actually calling it a work hazard that could lead to illness. So Nike decided to jump in, or just do it. We talked to Elizabeth Tippett at the University of Oregon School of Law, and her opinion, it's a pretty good move.
I like raising the focus of mental health as a basis for people to take time off and not just if they're physically ill. I think it's important to recognize the role that mental health plays for workers and worker well-being.
So me personally, I'm glad Nike's doing it. I'm sure you are too. And it's hard to argue against this. It does set a good example. There's plenty of evidence that shows a happy employee, a happy person. It makes a better employee, a better person, regardless of whether they sit behind a corporate desk or stand behind the checkout counter, which is why we were kind of surprised to learn that this mental health week off was limited to the corporate folks. In fact, we feel a little bit bad because it appears that we broke the news to a few of the employees at the Nike store when we called to ask them about their week off. They told us, they said, what week off? They didn't know anything about Nike employees getting a week off for Mental Health Week. And these are the people that have worked there in the store with the public throughout the pandemic, making a lot less money, I might add, than the corporate people at the corporate headquarters. It also is the Nike production workers, the people in the factories that are working long hours and physically demanding jobs. No mental health week for them either. Now, we reached out to Nike to get some more details here. Maybe they are doing something. Maybe there's something more to this, and some of those workers are going to be getting some mental health days. But they didn't respond to us because, well, they're off and their offices are closed. But hopefully, they'll show up on Monday refreshed and ready to give us an answer. Let's talk big story, shall we? So, COVID, okay? COVID cases are higher than ever in Oregon right now. ever. 18 months into the pandemic, and right now, with a vaccine, we are getting more cases than ever. We topped 3,000 daily cases for the first time ever today. And as we've been telling you, health experts are saying that this surge is caused by what? The highly contagious Delta variant, which is spreading to mostly unvaccinated people. But remember, not everyone who is unvaccinated made that choice to not get vaccinated. There is one group that can't get it yet: kids under 12. And right now, COVID cases among kids are spiking in Oregon. This graph shows 3 different age groups. All have increased over the past month, including very young kids, babies, infants, toddlers. During the week of August 15th, almost 500 kids 5 and under tested positive in Oregon. Now, I want to bring in Pat Doris for some perspective on all this. Pat, these case numbers, they sound pretty concerning, but I'm curious, how many kids, under 18 or young kids are actually being hospitalized, getting really sick with COVID in our state?
Well, fortunately, it's not that many. Tonight, I just checked around with the hospitals. There's 8 in the Portland area hospitals, only one of those in pediatric ICU. So hopefully that person pulls through and does okay. But yes, the numbers are big, but the doctors say you got to remember, especially these little ones, 0 to 5 years old, their bodies are so different than adult bodies. And for some reason, they are doing really well at fighting off this virus. Now, that does not mean that they don't transmit it. So one of the concerns is the cute little snuggly baby might be COVID positive. And when grandma or grandpa is snuggling them, or even, the parents, if somebody's not vaccinated, that could be real trouble. And even if you are, the breakthrough cases are out there, and they are nasty as well.
All right, let's talk big picture as we talk about cases. We have historic numbers right now, and we keep seeing them climb and climb and climb. Do we know when we might hit a peak? Hopefully sometime very soon.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I was just also looking at the latest OHA forecasting report, which they put out late yesterday, and they're looking at between now and September 7th. They're not going past that. But they say if things stay the way they are, there'll be 3,000 cases a day by the 7th. Well, guess what? We've hit 3,200 already. We're not even there. And then they also say there'll be 165 people per day that need to be hospitalized for COVID. I really hope that doesn't happen, because there's nowhere near that sort of capacity. In fact, I was checking that as well tonight. ICU beds are down to 6% available. Last night it was 8%, non-ICU down to 7%. So these things are slowly filling up. And even though there's more nurses and CNAs on the way to help, we're about to run out of room and have huge, huge problems.
Ooh, man, frightening predictions there. All right. Pat Doris, thank you.
You bet.
Now, if you wanted to help out with those frightening predictions, maybe get a vaccine. Keep yourself out of the ICU. Let's count some people who are less likely to be there. Right now, there are 2.67 million Oregonians who have gotten at least the first dose of the vaccine. That's 63.5% of the state's entire population. That includes everyone, even kids under 12 who can't get the vaccine yet, as we've mentioned. Now, in Washington, more than 5.12 million people have gotten at least their first dose, which works out to be more than 67% of their state's entire population, including kids. Now, I've gotten a lot of questions recently about booster shots, right? So let's get some answers to a few of them. P on Twitter wrote and said, "Hey, Dan, any way to tell how many people in Oregon have received booster vaccines for COVID so far?" Now, the short answer is no, there's not yet anyway, but we're asking. We asked both Oregon and Washington if they know how many people have gotten that third dose after the FDA authorized them for severely immunocompromised people earlier this month, and both states say they don't have those numbers yet. But the Oregon Health Authority did say that they are working on it, and they're going to try and get us those numbers by early next month, so we'll let you know when we have them. Vincent asked, with the booster shot coming soon, is it the same vaccine as the first 2 shots that we got? Or is it different? If it's the same, why can't we get them now? Albertsons has the shots that we got. So to answer your the first part of your question, the third vaccine dose will actually be the exact same thing as the first and second doses that you got, whether you got Pfizer or whether you got Moderna. The formulas won't be altered at all. As for the second part of your question, why you can't get them right now, well, I kind of touched on that in the last question by telling you that the FDA has only approved that third dose for severely immunocompromised individuals. But the rest of us might be able to get one soon. The Wall Street Journal is reporting that the Biden administration will likely approve booster shots for 6 months after you got your last dose. You remember earlier we were talking about it being 8 months out. The official announcement for this is expected in mid-September. So until then, we'll have to just wait and see, and we'll keep you posted. Now, Jimmy wants to know, will there be a booster for the J&J vaccine? Yeah, everyone's talking about this third dose, but what about the people who got J&J, never even got a second dose? It was one and done. And it's good timing on that question, Jimmy. Just this week, Johnson & Johnson revealed the results of its booster shot trial, which found that antibody levels increased 9-fold with a second shot. The CDC says it does expect people who got the J&J to need a booster eventually, but they haven't made any recommendations on it just yet. Now, look, before we get too ahead of ourselves thinking about booster shots, we do have to keep in mind that there are a lot of people who never even got one shot. But demand for the vaccine is actually kind of ticking up in Oregon after dropping in the spring. So McDonald's, of all places, and one in Oregon City, they decided to host a vaccine clinic this week to try and make it as easy as possible for people to get a shot. Our photojournalist Stephen Redlin went to check it out for us.
This week at the South Malala Avenue McDonald's in Oregon City, you can get a drink, a bite, or a cone.
And then the top half of that, and we'll get you over for your shot.
Okay. And you can get a Pfizer COVID vaccination.
People are familiar with McDonald's. They're comfortable. It's not a scary healthcare setting.
I just want to get a shot so everybody else can stay safe, myself and my family.
Paul Hebert is one of many here this day getting his shot. It's been hard to make the time to get it.
Yeah, especially when you work till 9, 10 o'clock at night.
In his long and busy days, McDonald's is a favorite quick lunch stop.
And then I happened to come through drive-through 2 weeks ago, and they said, hey, they're giving away shots. I go, really? I said, how long is the wait? They said, there's no wait. I said, all right, I'll come in.
We wanted to make people comfortable and able to get the vaccine while they're getting their Big Mac.
Megan Burns is the project manager for this and 3 other McDonald's in the area. She works for the owner, Oregon State Representative Janelle Bynum.
Just kind of brought out all of the tools at her disposal to make sure that we had all the resources we needed.
Did it hurt?
No, no, not at all. I work myself up, but it doesn't hurt.
Samantha Tardif is a student and volleyball player at nearby Clackamas Community College. She doesn't want her play on this year's team to be affected by the COVID virus, and being fully vaccinated also means she doesn't have to wear a mask while playing.
Done. I hope that everybody gets it, but I mean, it's obviously everybody's choice.
What McDonald's did was they invited nearby businesses to participate, but they also put a notice up on their reader board, which attracted the public to show up.
Clackamas County has set up 25 businesses with clinics so far. They'll help your business be a spot for vaccine shots, too.
It is really easy to get a vaccination clinic at your job site, and we're so happy to help you set it up.
They called me back, I think within the hour, to set that up.
I started my business 10 years ago, just across the street there. Yeah. Hebert's Appliance Solutions.
When your business is close to a vaccine site,
Congratulations.
getting vaccinations to more people is easier.
Yeah, I hope they all do. You know, everyone goes out and gets their vaccines before it's too late. Great, thank you.
Add to it a $50 Safeway gift card and a McDonald's ice cream cone bonus, and you're ready to go. In Oregon City, I'm Stephen Redlin, KGW News.
A jury just found a man guilty of murdering a Vancouver teen after he found out she was transgender. So let's take a look at the case that led Washington to ban the so-called panic defense. And Portland's green reputation has always kind of been at odds with the oil trains running through parts of the city. And now a controversial terminal has been denied its plans to expand. When the story continues.
Hey, all right, welcome back. I always go through your questions and comments during the break. I like to address a few at the end of the show. Please keep them coming. Use that hashtag HeyDan or email us at thestory@kgw.com. I also want to remind you, as we do every night, about our Hey Help campaign. This week, we're asking you to donate to the Belmont Goats. Look at them. They're adorable. They'll mow your grass. This is a farm. It's a nonprofit. They survive on public donations. Okay, these goats need to eat more than grass, I think. They need cared for. They were closed during the pandemic. They had to shut down, but they just reopened this past weekend in North Portland at North Syracuse and Macram Avenue. Go say hi, go see them. Also, if you want to help out from the comfort of your couch, just open up your phone, open up the camera, point it at the QR code you see right there, and we'll give you an option to donate to them. They'll send you to a link, or you can go to kgw.com/heyhelp. This is a micro donation drive. You don't have to give a bunch of money. If you got $1, $5, $10, everything adds up and it helps. Also, if you have an idea of a local organization that you think we should profile in our Hey Help campaigns, please let us know. 2021 is on track to be the deadliest year of violence against transgender people in U.S. history. That's according to some data from the Human Rights Campaign and advocacy group. It is an alarming statistic, but it's also inspired some progress and new laws to protect transgender victims, like the Nikki Kuhnhausen Act. That bill eliminates the gay or trans panic defense. Have you heard of this? In many states, if an LGBTQ person flirts with or comes on to a straight person, and then the straight person hurts or even kills the LGBTQ person, the straight person can try to claim that they panicked, that they didn't know what they were doing, that it was kind of like pleading insanity in a way. It's how the bill's namesake lost her life. Nikki was a transgender girl from Vancouver. And when she was 17, she was strangled and killed by a man who said he was surprised to learn she was transgender during a sexual encounter. And today, that man, David Bogdanov, was found guilty and convicted of that crime. Our Ashley Corslin joins us now. This was a very heated and important trial.
You know, Dan, this trial lasted for 2 weeks, and today was day 3 of jury deliberations. So this thing, it was emotional, it was heated, and ultimately what it came down to for the jury was really determining the motive, right? David Bogdanov claimed he killed Nikki Kuhnhausen in self-defense. The prosecution, on the other hand, said absolutely not. We don't buy that. You killed her because she was trans and you discovered this. So he claims self-defense because it all started with a sexual encounter between the two. And when Bogdanov says he discovered that Nikki was transgender, that she was born a male, he says he became outraged and embarrassed. He told her to get out of the car, and he claims that she started to fight with him. And he says he had no choice but to subdue her. The thing is, he strangled her with a phone charging cord. So that was his story, self-defense. The prosecution, as I said no way. You killed her when you found out she was trans.
And the jury didn't buy his account of things. So the prosecution now, I'm sure they are satisfied with this verdict. Did you get a chance to talk to them afterward?
You know, I did. I talked to one of the trial attorneys, a deputy prosecuting attorney today, and she said, you know, this case is obviously important. Every case is important, but this case specifically sends a message to the LGBTQ community.
I think this case is really an important case. Unfortunately, you know, Nikki died because she was trans, and that's really a shame. And hopefully we've at least been able to show that just because she's trans doesn't mean that she's not entitled to equal protection under the law. That the jury did find that she was killed. She was killed intentionally, and she was killed because she was trans. So hopefully that brings some measure of peace to the community, although it doesn't heal the wound and it doesn't bring her back.
Now, to be clear here, Bogdanov did not use the panic defense. He could have, but he decided not to.
Yeah, you know, he could have. We don't know if he was going to in the first place, but he maintained his defense was self-defense.
Got it. Ashley, thank you so much. Meantime, several states have passed similar bills to eliminate this type of legal defense, this panic defense, in more than a dozen states, including Oregon, Washington, California, and many others, with nearly a dozen more considering changes to their laws. Now, I know a lot of you out there are the big environmentalist types. I mean, Portland's kind of known for that, known for being green, you could say. So you might have already heard about the city denying what's called the Land Use Compatibility Statement for Zenith Oil for a terminal. The company needed Portland to sign off on it in order to expand its operations. Now, you might remember this too, that the city previously denied Zenith a permit to expand a few years ago when they wanted to build some new crude oil pipelines. So this is another big blow for the company. Now, we know why environmentalists oppose oil trains and terminals. Fossil fuels aren't exactly great for the environment. So we've seen what can happen also when an oil train derails. I mean, remember in 2016 when 96 train cars derailed in the gorge and tens of thousands of gallons of oil spilled. But some people are also worried about the health risks on the type of oil at Zenith and the type of oil that they carry. In 2019, then Oregonian reporter Gordon Friedman, who now works for the city of Portland, spoke to Laurel Porter about it on Straight Talk.
Those crude oils are different than what we might think of as the stuff that gushes out of wells in the ground, in that it's sands basically, and it has these sand particles that can provide extra environmental hazards, but also they have an inhalation hazard. So if the oil were to spill, it contains cancer-causing chemical called benzene. It contains a chemical called hydrogen sulfide that can cause respiratory problems. There's been no reported oil spill while that company has owned the facility in Northwest Portland. But it's really just a matter of it being in black and white, that this oil is different than other kinds of oil. And the company actually has to provide state regulators with what are called safety data sheets that are technical documents detailing the properties of the oil. And the data sheets they provided for the diluted bitumen that they handle show that not only is it highly flammable, it's very toxic. It's a respiratory hazard. It's an inhalant hazard. And other kinds of oils don't carry that same type of risk.
Now, Zenith released a statement this morning saying, "We are very disappointed in the city's decision, which is particularly puzzling, as we know our plan to transition to a fully renewable energy facility is very much in line with the values and goals reflected in the City of Portland's 2035 comprehensive plan." But the city made it pretty clear their problem with Zenith's current use of fossil fuels is not with it's not with that. It's with the company's not with the company's future renewable energy goals. I got that sentence out eventually. All right, please keep sending in your questions and comments. I promise not to stumble through many of them, maybe some of them, who knows. You'll have to tune in after the commercial break to find out. We'll finish the story next. Hey, welcome back. What the? Look at the size of that thing. That's our QR code. It's my buddy here. If you hold up your if you hold that up to that, it'll send you a link and it'll take you to a way to sign up for our newsletter. So if I haven't completely annoyed you totally during this half hour and you're like, I could take a little bit more of this guy, sign up for the newsletter, and every week we send you out kind of the stuff we did throughout that week that we think is important and you'd like to see. People seem to like it. So give it a shot. If you don't like it, just unsubscribe from it. No big deal. All right, hey, so David wrote in and said, hey, Dan, any chance you could let us know how many people are getting their first shots every day? So my producer, Stephanie, she just let me know it's about 8,000 every single day. Now, that counts first and second doses. So it doesn't necessarily mean that those are 8,000 new people getting their first dose. It could be one or the other, but that number is 8,000. Maybe we'll dig in a little bit deeper and get a little bit more specific with that. I like that question. Sarah said, "You got to be kidding me, Nike. Shame on them for not giving their frontline retail workers a week off, too." She goes on more angrily throughout the email, but I'll spare you. I also then did get an email a little bit earlier from a viewer named Stacy, and she said, "Hey, Dan, I work at Nike, and while there are retail store and warehouse workers not getting this week off, they are being rewarded in other ways. We're very thankful for their tireless work throughout the pandemic." I don't know what Stacy does there, but it sounds like she knows a little bit about what's going on. Again, we reached out to the people at Nike, and they are in the midst of their mental health week, so they weren't there to answer our call. And you know what? During a mental health week, they shouldn't be. So on Monday, we'll reach back to them and see what they have to say. In the meantime, I'm unbuttoning. I'm ready to relax. It's the weekend, all right? Enjoy yourself. I'll see you Monday.